Good day, students! It's me again. So last time, we discussed the first three elements of fiction, which are the characters, setting, and plot. For today, we'll talk about the other elements of fiction. These are the objectives of the lesson. Number 1. Write a flash fiction employing the elements of fiction. Number 2. Create a poster slogan that reflects societal conflicts. The following are the topics that we'll cover for today: point of view, theme, and conflict, as well as the literary techniques and devices used in writing fiction. The world at this point in time is chaotic as it is facing a lot of conflicts here and there. Take a look at the photo below and what was your reaction when you saw this on social media? What did you feel when you saw this on Facebook? What can you say about the photo? Those pictures are just some of the conflicts that the world faced and still facing. Tragedies and calamities are inevitable, yet we Filipinos are strong and resilient. We can overcome whatever comes our way. Other elements of fiction aside from characters, setting, and plot. Point of view. It determines who tells the story and also the angle from which the story is told. In literature, point of view is the mode of narration that an author uses to let the readers hear and see what takes place in a story. Also, the author chooses who will tell the story by determining the point of view. A lot of stories, the protagonist is telling the story, while in the others, the narrator may be another character or an outside viewer who is not in the story at all. There are three types of points of view. First-person points of view. The readers will see or read the events through the eyes of the character telling the story. It is generally revealed by the I sentence construction and rely on first-person pronouns. Other pronouns used are me, my, and we. Second-person points of view. The narrator is speaking to you. We see second-person point of view mostly in poems, speeches, instructional writing, and persuasive articles. It uses the pronoun you and it is less common in novel-length work. The pronouns used are also your and yours. Third-person point of view. The narrator is describing what is seen but only as a spectator. It uses the third-person pronouns he or she. This narrator has three possible perspectives. Other pronouns used are it, a, her, his, or a name. Under third-person point of view, it has three types. First, limited. The narrator sees only what is in front of him or her, a spectator of events as they unfold and unable to read any other character's mind. In other reference, it is third-person objective. The facts of a narrative are reported by a seemingly neutral, impersonal observer or recorder. Next is omniscient. The narrator sees all or sees everything. He or she sees what each character is doing and can see into each character's mind. An all-knowing narrator not only reports the facts but may also interpret events and relate the thoughts and feelings of any character. Third, limited omniscience. The narrator can only see into one character's mind. He or she might see other events happening but only knows the reasons of one character's actions in the story. First-person point of view is the most widely used point of view in literature. Example of stories wherein the authors used first-person point of view are The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald and Moby Dick by Herman Melville, as well as Hunger Games, which is one of the latest books to top the charts. Out of all the point of views, second-person point of view is the least popular. The stories Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas by Tom Robbins and Self-Help, a short story collection by Lurie Moore, are stories written in second-person point of view. As well as Bright Lights, Big City by J. McNerney. The following novels are written in third-person point of view: Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. The next element is theme. Theme is a central idea, topic, or point of a story, essay, or narrative. It is the main idea that weaves the story together, the underlying ideas of what happens in a piece of literature, often a statement about society or human nature. Theme concerns universal ideas such as love, friendship, family, society, etc. Major themes are the most significant themes of the story, and often they are part of the entire story. A book on war would have the major theme of war's effect on humanity, whereas a romance novel would have the major theme of love. A major theme is an idea that a writer repeats in his literary work, making it the most significant idea in the work. Minor themes are less important and less enduring. They provide discussion points for a chapter or two, but do not color the entire story. A minor theme, on the other hand, refers to an idea that appears in a work briefly, giving way to another minor theme. There are two types of theme. Explicit theme is when the writer states the theme openly and clearly. The theme is clearly expressed or stated in detail at some point in narrative. Implicit themes are implied themes. The theme is not stated directly in the story. The readers should identify the theme based on the story. What is the difference between theme and moral? Moral is the main message or lesson to be learned from reading a cautionary story. Although themes and morals are both major ideas in a story, they are different in that themes do not necessarily serve to teach a lesson, whereas morals always do. Here is an example of theme versus moral. Theme, love. Moral, love others the way you would like to be loved. Thus, a theme is simply an idea to be examined, whereas a moral is a clear lesson to be learned. Here are other examples of themes in literature. Theme is an element of a story that binds together various essential elements of a narrative. It is often a truth that exhibits universality and stands true for people of all cultures. Theme gives readers better understanding of the main character's conflicts, experiences, discoveries, and emotions as they are derived from them. Through themes, a writer tries to give his readers an insight into how the world works or how he or she views human life. And the last element is conflict. Conflict is the struggle between two opposing forces, usually a protagonist and an antagonist. It can be internal or external conflict. It is the problem or difficulty that the character faced in the story. Internal or psychological conflict happens as soon as a character experiences two opposite emotions or desires inside him. This disagreement causes the character to suffer mental agony or suffering, and it develops a unique tension in a storyline marked by a lack of action. while external conflict arises when a characteristic involvement of an action wherein a character is in a struggle with those outside forces that hamper his progress. The most common type of external conflict is where a protagonist fights back against antagonist tactics that impede his or her advancement. Here are the types of conflict. Man versus man, also known as interpersonal conflict. The characters are fighting with each other. This mode lies at the heart of all dramatic arts and places the struggle between the protagonist and the antagonist. This is probably the most common form of external conflict, and the protagonist wants something and the antagonist blocks or hinders the protagonist from getting what he wants. Example, The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. In the story, Montresor is in conflict with Fortunato. Man versus nature. The character is fighting against animals or the forces of nature such as a storm or even the sea. It pits the main character against the forces of nature. It can be a natural disaster or a similarly dangerous situation. The problem here can be an earthquake, tornado, tsunami, volcanic eruptions, and many others. Example, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Man versus society. Characters stand up against man-made institutions and social rules and is forced to moral choices. This mode of external conflict occurs when the protagonist is placed at odds with a government or cultural tradition. This type of conflict applies to societal norms as well. Characters may be motivated to take action against their society by a need to survive, a moral sense of right and wrong, or a desire for happiness, freedom, justice, or love. Example, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, in which the main character, Hester Prynne, is shunned by her people for having a baby with a man who was not her husband. Man versus himself. The struggle is internal or within. The character must overcome his nature and make a choice between two or more paths. The conflict takes place within the mind of the character and often involves the character making a decision between right and wrong or other mixed emotions. However, this struggle could also exist in the form of a character battling mental illness. This may entail a struggle to discern what the moral or right choice is, or it may also encompass mental health struggles. Example, Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Man versus machine. The character is in direct combat or fight with robots in the context of science fiction. Or it could mean simply that technology stands in the way of the protagonist getting what he or she wants. It is simply a battle against technology. Example, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Man versus fate or supernatural. This exists in any story in which the protagonist is struggling against a god or gods. Examples are the Iliad and Odyssey by Homer, in which the gods are present antagonists. The protagonist is in conflict with the gods and goddesses in Greek, Roman, Norse, Philippine, or other mythologies. Literary techniques and devices used in writing fiction. The writer's choice of literary techniques is an important element of fiction. The writer can use any number of literary techniques in a story. The writer's choice depends on the type of genre he or she is writing and personal preference. The writer uses these techniques for the purpose of creating a more interesting, meaningful, authentic, and entertaining story. The following are the most common literary techniques that fiction writers use. Allegory. The writer creates a story in which the characters and events form a system of symbolic meaning. George Orwell's Animal Farm is a story in which each animal represents a specific person from the Russian Revolution. Allegory is a figure of speech in which abstract ideas and principles are described in terms of characters, figures, and events. It can be employed in prose and poetry to tell a story with the purpose of teaching or explaining an idea or a principle. The objective of its use is to teach some kind of a lesson. Symbol. The fiction writer can use an object, word, action, or character in the story to suggest or mean something other than its dictionary or literal meaning. For instance, an owl can represent wisdom. Although an allegory uses symbols, it is different from symbolism. An allegory is a complete narrative that involves characters and events that stand for an abstract idea or event. A symbol, on the other hand, is an object that stands for another object, giving it a particular meaning. Unlike allegory, symbolism does not tell a story. Examples of symbolism. A dove is a symbol of peace. A red rose, or the color red, stands for love or romance. Black is a symbol that represents evil or death. Next is juxtaposition. It is when a writer places two contrasting or different concepts, people, or events directly side by side in a sentence or paragraph. It is a human quality to comprehend one thing easily by comparing it to another. Therefore, a writer can make readers sense goodness in a particular character by placing him or her side by side with a character that is predominantly evil. Consequently, goodness in one character is highlighted by evil in the other character. Juxtaposition in this case is useful in the development of characters. Example, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Tone. Tone is the narrator's attitude about a subject. The tone can be formal, informal, serious, comic, sarcastic, sad, or cheerful, or it may be any other existing attitude. Other literary techniques and devices used in writing fiction are imagery, diction, figures of speech, flashback, and foreshadowing. Every story has literary elements simply because they are all vital in writing a great story. In order to create a story that will capture the reader's hearts, a writer should be wise in choosing the story's point of view, theme, and conflict. Again, point of view determines who tells the story and also the angle from which the story is told. Theme is a central idea, topic, or point of view of a story, essay, or narrative. And conflict is a struggle between two opposing forces, usually a protagonist and an antagonist. This ends our lecture for today. Thank you for listening. Blessings!
Happy learning at home with lessons made easy by Olivarian GoTeach. One proud Olivarian.